All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel, Being Holistic. This is Pari again. I hope you guys are doing well. And I'm here today with Miss Judith Fasone, who is a holistic nurse coach and an advanced holistic nurse who's been practicing for more than a decade. And today we'll be talking to her about the benefits of nurse coaching and how people can get certified and the process of certification and the importance of being a nurse coach and what's her role in being a nurse coach supervisor. Welcome, Judith. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks. Thanks for having me back. Yeah.
Thank you for coming back to the channel to provide information for the viewers. So I wanted to talk to you about today are what are some benefits of that you have gained in taking the nurse coach training sessions?
Well, I had been a nurse for 30 years already, and I felt like I wanted to do more with private practice because I'd been practicing the Traeger approach for about 22 years. And I took a coaching course called the Integrative Nurse Coach Program. It's called INCA. And Barbara Dossi, who is a real leader in holistic care, had pulled this program together with a couple of her peers, Bonnie Schaub and Susan Luck, and they came up with this great program that was it was over a year's time, and it was 3 5-day blocks of time. And I felt sitting in that room with 30 seasoned nurse professionals that there were only 3 out of the 30 that actually had ever had a private practice or really knew anything about self-care and self-development. So they wanted to know more about that, and they wanted to help other people do that, but they had never really delved into it that much. And so for the first time in my life, I felt like I knew more than some very professional nurses did. And everybody has their own path in their life, and mine has always been to learn more about the body and movement and healing through that lens. And so the nurse coaching program actually helped me to pull all of those things together. Where before I thought I needed to keep the Traeger approach and the movement separate from my nursing. And when I was doing Traeger sessions, I didn't feel like I could bring my nursing knowledge into it. So until I actually got my nurse coaching certificate, these things were very separate. But after that program, I came up with the idea that self-care is healthcare, and that if we learn to take care of ourselves and love ourselves, then we will be healthier. And so that really gave me a lot of confidence as a nurse, and it gave me a lot of confidence as a Traeger practitioner also. So my practice began to grow in a different way. And at the same time, I went back into teaching nursing, and I was teaching the nursing students how to be with people and facilitate this other approach at the bedside. So I was doing both in both places, and it's very rewarding for me.
Kind of learning multitasking and learning different approaches as you go along.
Yeah.
So what is the difference of, you mentioned about coaching and so there's some coaching and then there's counseling aspect of it as well. So what is the difference between the two?
Well, nurses do both, even though we aren't trained to do both. It's kind of a natural part of our nursing skills, is that we sit with people who are suffering, and we are empathetic, and we are listening, and we are really letting them divulge very personal information, and we support them. And all of those things are counseling. Counseling takes it a step further, often going back into the beginning of a pattern, which could have been from childhood or trauma or abuse situations, or and so that's sort of on the counseling side a little bit more. On the coaching side, if you think about someone who's doing sports coaching, they're really the cheerleader. You know, they're really helping that person set goals. They're checking in with them to make sure that they have all the resources they need. And so even though there is some overlap within those two things, I think the difference has a lot to do with the coaching doesn't go as far back. It's more in the present moment and going forward. Counseling may also do that, but they're really going to reach underneath to find out sometimes what started the problem and how to cope with the after effects of a problem. So it's not that simple because what we
True.
do
Yeah.
is very colored.
Integrative and.
Yeah, it's very integrative. But I think that's the way that I have made the most sense of it in a simple way between those two things. But nurses, we can do all of those things. You don't have to be a trained therapist to sit with someone at the bedside and really deeply listen to them and help them move forward. And there are lots of different skills that we can use. Coaching is another one, another skill to help someone move beyond their current situation.
And I feel like as nurses and medical professionals, we already kind of do that a little bit at bedside and daily basis anyway, but to, like you have said, to kind of learn more in depth and, get more perfected with it as you move forward.
Right.
What is the need and the process of certification that you have mentioned about nurse coaching? So what have you seen out there?
Well, I think that nurses that have been trained in the past and didn't go through a holistic program probably have taken the role of expert. And I think there's been a shift in our populace, in the public coming for care, and that they're really very informed now. And they want someone to work with them on their health. They want to provide input. They want to bring new information and say, what do you think about this? And so if the nurse already has a preconceived idea of what should happen next, they're missing a lot of the empowerment that can happen for that patient or for that client when they are in this situation. And for example, if someone, again, I'll use just losing weight because so many people want to change the way they feel, through weight loss. If somebody wants to lose weight and they come and they ask some nurse about, some new diet, whether it's Atkins or fasting or whatever, and the nurse says, no, this is the way you have to do it, that's going to turn somebody off. Where instead a coach is going to say to that person, well, tell me what you know about that. Let me hear why you think that's going to work for you, and let's work together to set some goals. So we don't have to be the expert anymore. And then, of course, being who we are, we go home and we research everything and we learn all about it so we can be more informed. And that's one of the things that I think coaches are really good at. And the benefit is that people walk away feeling empowered. So they're not dependent on the experts anymore. They become the expert. And we want to acknowledge that in nursing and not have them be dependent on us.
And that's a very interesting point you say that, because a lot of it comes down to the person. So, the nurses and medical professionals, they help guide, but at the end, it's the person that has to also learn more about it, become more expert, and it has to be like a conjoined thing, like you have mentioned, between the professional and the person in order to benefit the most. And with being the internet media and everything, the knowledge is available out there. So I'm glad you mentioned that, to open the mind to different ways to help the clients. Thank you.
Yes, I think goal setting is something that we really do want to promote, and the goal is not set by the nurse coach, it's set by the client. So we just follow them at some point.
That makes, that's a very interesting point. I mean, good point right there, is the person that has to kind of guide their health. So can you please mention and talk about how, as a nursing coach supervisor, and the importance, and for those who are interested and want to become certified in the nurse coaching process. So what is your role in that?
As I said, I went through a program that took about a year, and it was very expensive, but it was very worth it. And I really recommend, if nurses can find a program and invest that time and money, then that's a really great way to do it, because you are in a peer group, you're in person with people. But a lot of nurses can't get away, and they can't leave their jobs or their families to do this. And I want to support those nurses. And so there's another way to do it, which is the nurse has to have 60 hours of continuing education, which most any nursing continuing ed that we take is going to fit into holistic coach practice in many ways. And I review that with them to find out. And if not, then I can recommend, how to catch up with the hours they need. And then they also have to have 60 hours of supervision, direct supervision. And so I give about 20 hours one-to-one over the phone or in person if they live here in Columbus. And then we have a textbook, and this is the book, and I'll send that link to you. And it's written by Barbara Dossi, and it's called The Nurse Coaching Integrative Approaches for Health and Wellness. And so this helps you prepare for the certificate examination. So the nurse purchases that, and then I have assignments. So if I see the nurse every week and that person says, yes, I can finish, I have time for 1 or 2 chapters a week, then we talk about which chapters will be most helpful. And then the next session we review that information. There are test questions available that I can kind of help people understand how to pick the right answers and what, there's multiple choice questions on this exam that has to happen. And so the supervision also covers a person that I'm working with their own clients for free. And they have to practice the coaching models that we discover in this book and do a little bit of documentation, just keep a running log of the current topic and how the resolution is happening, what are the barriers that they're having personally. And so that is what happens when we get on the phone together, but they would have to do about 30 hours of sessions, and then we do 20 to 30 hours of in-person or other ways to get those hours met on the phone mostly. So I've been doing this now for a couple of years, and I really enjoy working with nurses who want to learn about coaching, and I've had some really good feedback about it. I haven't had anybody fail the examination yet, so it is a good way to consider. But as I said, if it's a person that can get away, and mostly somebody, I probably would not work with someone who is just out of college who has not had any experience yet. I would say they would need to either get some experience first and then come back, or take one of these longer programs so that they can build it in. But for me, it was helpful, even though I'd been nursing for a very long time. It gave me a lot of confidence. But I know that there are nurses that just can't get away, so I want to make it available.
Make it more flexible depending on the work schedule and work-life balance.
Right.
And then this is very important in the sense of holistic healing. And as nurses, we are in the front line of this whole process of holistic healing with the person, not just treating them medically, but also, as you have mentioned, more holistically, mind, body, soul, and giving the person the power and integrating it with the medical professional to help them improve their overall health. So thank you for mentioning that.
And also, the nurse coaching came out of the holistic nursing model. And so Barbara Dossi was the person who wrote the holistic nursing textbook. And every aspect of holistic nursing is that inclusivity of what the client needs and how the client can be involved in their own healing. And so the coaching naturally came as a step towards more of that. How do we get out of the way? We want to look at their motivation. We want to encourage them to take small steps and not try to do everything all at once. And self-care is the biggest piece of this. So I use a lot of guided imagery. If someone is having anxiety around other areas of their life, then we work on that too as part of the practice. So 10 of the hours that I work with people is me actually coaching them with a real issue so they can receive coaching maybe for the first time. And so you can't really coach others until you've been coached.
True.
And so that's part of this 60-hour supervision that I do.
I see.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting program you have, and I feel like all nurses should learn about it. That way, they can open their horizon on various ways to approach a person and also heal themselves as well, and
Yeah.
help heal others as well. So, thank you for mentioning this information, Judy, today, and thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And